In today's Modern Warfare video, I'm giving you guys the top 5 best classes you should be using within the beta. These are going to be the classes that I found to be the most effective when playing this game. If you haven't enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. Okay, so for the first thing we're going to be taking a look at here is we have to actually hop into our loadout selection. We can have a bunch of different custom loadouts, but we have to actually go through. Before we get into some of the gun loadouts, I have to tell you guys about some of the different perk packages here, because this is what's going to determine for you to be able to run some of these different guns, because there's a little bit of some nuances here within the beta. So of course we have your different packages: sniper, support, deadeye, hunter, phantom, assault, and then of course you have your perk 1 package, which you can create yourself, which is pretty much like you just go down here, create a package. You get to choose a bunch of different stuff, but just to kind of explain this here a little bit, so you have your pretty much your base perks here. For this one to be overkill and scavenger, those are the two you actually start out with, and then throughout the match you're going to earn fast hands and also hardline. So it's not like you start out with those perks, but throughout the match you will actually guarantee to earn these things. So you actually can create some pretty cool different perk packages, but keep in mind you're only ever going to have your first 2 perks to start off the match. So no matter what those are, it doesn't matter if they're any of these other ones here: overkill, strong arm, I mean, you earn quick fix, then you earn high alert. You'll never start out with any of these things that say earned in match, but you will ultimately by the end of the match have all 4 perks when you are playing the game. Now this is more of like a newer system here to Call of Duty, but it's actually pretty interesting how this works. So you can kind of do some pretty cool stuff. Also, by the way, this perk right here, the ultimate perk, bird's eye, the minimap is zoomed out and the UAV and the radar ping reveal the enemy's direction on earn ping enemies on the minimap. This pretty much translates any sort of like UAV into kind of like almost like a pulsating advanced UAV. It makes it so they're not dots, so that they're arrows, and actually really does help you out when you're trying to figure out where people are going. It's kind of an OP perk, just a little bit of a hint, tip, and trick. Now we're gonna be hopping into our first gun, but this is something I also have to explain as well, as this is newer to the Modern Warfare series. This is actually brand new to Call of Duty in general. So we have your basic like M4A1 platform, and this can be transferred into like a whole bunch of different stuff. So you have the M4A1, you have the M16, which is your 3-round burst, you have your 5.56 Icarus, which is more or less like your LMG, you have your FTAC Recon, which is like your DMR, your .458 rifle, so that's a single shotgun. Then you have your Hurricane, which is pretty much like an SMG version. So you have pretty much the M4A1, but you have a bunch of different receivers which you can switch out to make a whole bunch of different guns, and it's a little bit crazy like that. But for our first build here today, we're going to be using the FSS Hurricane receiver. That's going to make this thing more of a hybrid AR SMG. So let's hop into this. First thing in the muzzle category, what we're going to be using is the SA Shall Dampener 99, however you pronounce that. Pretty much is a silencer that gives you that sound suppression, recoil smoothness, bullet velocity, and recoil control. In this game, I've noticed in comparison to any other Call of Duty game, it has a lot of visual recoil. People talked about there being a lot of recoil in some of these other games. Listen, I'll tell you guys right now, your guns are going to bounce around quite a bit in comparison to what you're like used to, and it's going to be a little bit nuts. You have to control that recoil. Now in the barrel section, we're going to go throw on the FSS Cannonade 16 barrel. This is going to give us damage range, hipfire accuracy, and of course bullet velocity. That actually plays a huge part in here, getting your shots down range faster, and of course increasing that damage range because this is an SMG. You do really notice that sort of like damage drop off in multiplayer. Like you will notice it quite heavily. So if you guys want to, I actually really haven't tried this one out too much, but I actually have seen some people run the FSS X7 barrel. This is an integral suppressor, so this could technically be good, but there's also not that many attachments we have to be able to choose from, so the FSS Cannonade 16 works actually pretty nicely. Now in the underbarrel section, we're gonna go throw in the FSS Shark Fin 90. This is gonna pretty much be like a commando foregrip style thing. It's just well-rounded angled foregrip for those who prefer accuracy while on the move. This isn't gonna slow you down really. It's just gonna help you control that recoil when you're on the move. Some of these other grips in here are really gonna slow down your ADS speed, your ADS speed, and then your hip walking speed. So I mean, we don't really want to slow ourselves down too much. We still want to be able to have that mobility, because having that good mobility and sprint to fire time, all that stuff is pretty crucial in this game. As you know, if you get caught sprinting, it's like a sprint more, die more kind of vibe right now. And then after that, we're gonna go to the attachments for the optic. We're gonna go throw on the SZ Mini. This is a little bit more personal preference. Also, these Hurricane iron sights really aren't that bad at all, so you can definitely switch this out maybe for something else if you really feel so inclined to do so. This is definitely a good option. And then we're actually gonna go into the stock section, and we're gonna go throw on the demo Quicksilver Collapse, and this is gonna help us kind of round out this build and make it a little bit more agile. Though if you guys want to, you could switch this up, probably take this off and throw on something like a rear grip and add in here something for recoil control, and that'd be really solid as well. But this is my full build here for the FSS Hurricane version of the M4A1. Something that I can't technically actually show you guys without actually going into the game is the AK-74U, is that you're technically not even really allowed to unlock this thing. It says level 1 of 1, you're actually able to attach different attachments to it because there's universal attachments. Like there's a silencer, foregrip, and red dot sight. Even though it says level 1 of 1, you're not really able to actually use it. When you go in game, you're able to attach some different stuff on here, but that's pretty much the extent of it. You can't really build out a full loadout with this thing. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you're wanting to use the AK-70 for you, you have to go in game and you have to use other guns to get some universal attachments. But let's move on to our next gun here, which is going to be an actual M4 build, and we're actually going to get into this. So first thing, this is going to be a pretty classic try and true. This is going to have the 5.56 NATO receiver, which is going to be a classic M4A1. But for our first attachment, we're going to go throw in the Echoline GS-X suppressor for that sound suppression and recoil smoothness. Not sure why they don't call it recoil control, just recoil smoothness. That's kind of, I guess, the terminology they're using here for this. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go for the Tempest High Tower 20 barrel. This is going to give us bullet velocity, damage range, hipfire accuracy, and of course, recoil control. You're going to be using this kind of at the expense of some movement, but this is a true AR build. It's not like you're going to be rushing around balls to wall with this, like maybe you would like a no stock M4 Modern Warfare 2019 public match multiplayer. Now in the underbarrel section, we're going to go throw in the FSS Shark Fin 90. This is going to help out, of course, so that aiming idle stability. It's just going to, of course, give you that accuracy for those that, want it on the move. It's going to help you just to be a little bit more agile, but more mobile, but while still maintaining some accuracy, as that's a huge thing in this game. And then we're going to go down here to the magazine section. We have the option to go for a 45 and a 60 round mag. You guys already know what I'm about to say. I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, so I'm going to go for that beautiful 60 round mag. This is pretty much like my go-to on this, kind of like having 60 in the magazine, though. If you want a little bit less of, some of these cons, you could technically go for the 45 and be okay as well. And to finish off this build here, we're going to go throw on the Cronin Mini Red Dot sight. They got some funny, interesting names for some of this stuff, but you guys can go for this or the SZ Mini. I mean, it's literally personal preference, what you want to be able to use at the end of the day. They're both doing the same thing. They just look a little bit different. It's kind of is what it is. I really haven't messed too much with some of these other sights, as I think they're a little bit ridiculous, and I don't really need to do any of this stuff. I just need like a red dot sight at maximum, as I feel like sometimes the muzzle flash and the recoil control is a little bit too much to be using some of the iron sights, even though the iron sights realistically aren't that bad. This is my full builds here on the M4A1, the AR 5.56 NATO version. Now we're going to take a look here at the MP5, or pretty much the Lachmann sub. This is going to be with the 9mm Parabellum. Actually, this gun right here, you're actually only supposed to be able to get to one of the different Lachmanns, but I'll explain that here a little bit later in the video, how you're actually able to get this. I'm not exactly sure if it's patched yet, but for those of you guys that actually have this in your arsenal, this is going to be a real fun setup to be able to use with this. So first thing, we're actually going to go in here to the silencer. We're going to throw in the SA Schall Dampener 99. Dude, I don't know how to pronounce this thing. Anyways, it's a silencer. It's sound suppression, recoil smoothness, bullet velocity, recoil control. Of course, you're going to lose a little bit on your overall mobility, but that's okay. We got to be able to stay suppressed, stay off that radar a little bit. In the underbarrel section, we got to go for the FSS Shark Fin 90. Of course, just got to be able to stabilize out a recoil, but you guys could definitely try out something like this if you feel like one of these, if this is not going to give you enough recoil control. Definitely go for one of these regular like grips down here, and this is going to help you out quite a bit. But of course, it will be more so at the expense of like your mobility, so it is what it is. You guys have to try some of the stuff out for yourself, as this is going to be kind of a crazy game when it comes to like fine-tuning and perfecting attachments. Now the magazine section, we're gonna go through on the 50 round drum, though you guys could also try the 40 round mag, as that's gonna be pretty cool as well. But I don't really ever recommend running a 15 round mag. Like, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't know why you'd ever want to run a 15 round mag on your SMG. Like, that's just literally just for the giggles right there. But a 40 or 50, it's up to y'all. Go check out either or and you should be fine. And then we're actually going to go throw in on the iron sights. We're not going to use the iron sights. We're going to go throw on the SZ Mini just to make this a little bit easier to be able to see through, as sometimes that visual recoil is going to be a bit much. And then in the no stock section, or the stock section, I should say, we're going to go for the no stock attachment. So movement speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and of course, hip recoil control. You will lose a little bit of aiming stability. So like I said, if you need a little bit more recoil control, go ahead and throw on maybe one of those bigger foregrips, and that should help you out. But overall, this is a real fun gun to use, and probably one of my favorite ones in the game right now. Now we're taking a look at an LMG version of the M4. So this is the 5.56 Icarus receiver, and this is going to be an interesting one. This is very hard hitting, and it's not going to be as mobile, of course, as like an AR and SMG, but it's still really fun to use. So let's get into the build for it. So first thing, we got to go for the Echoline GS-X suppressor here. Of course, sound suppression, recoil smoothness. In the barrel section, we got to go for the F-Tac Cold Forge 16 barrel. This is gonna give us damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. This is gonna help you be an absolute machine at those medium-ish to longer-ish ranges. You're definitely gonna be taking people out faster at any of those ranges than anything else pretty much in the game, so definitely go ahead and run this. Underbarrel section, gonna go throw on the shark fin here, just of course to help out with that aiming stability. I mean, these are gonna slow you down way too much on this gun, so I definitely would not recommend that. Probably just to go for the shark fin. And then, of course, we're going to throw on a rear grip here for the X10 grip for sprint to fire speed and ADS speed. This is going to lose you a little bit of recoil control, but we need to speed this gun up ever so slightly as it is a little bit slow. And then on the stock section, we're going to go throw on the Demo Fade Pro stock here for aim walking speed and, of course, sprint to fire speed. You lose a little bit of aiming stability, but you can always switch that out for potentially something else in here if you feel like it's a little bit too much. I just didn't want to lose recoil control by using this one, as the recoil in this game is, for whatever reason, so much worse than pretty much any other Call of Duty game. But this is my full setup right here. I didn't go for an optic just because these are the only two optics you realistically have available, and we don't need that. And the iron sights are fine, and they'll do the job for like pretty much what you're trying to accomplish right here. Now for loadout 6, I got to explain this one here a little bit because there's a bit of a caveat to this. So how you actually do this is you actually have to go in here and onto your perk package, you have to equip the assault package and have overkill on. What you have to also make sure is that you have a pistol as your secondary before you put on overkill. You'll throw on the expedite shotgun, and then you're able to then actually select the Lachmann 5.56 gun, which should be in theory locked in the game. But as long as you happen to actually do that combo right there, this will then appear as the default on your secondary, and we're able to get in here and actually use the Lachmann 5.56, or aka the AR version of the MP5. So let's actually get in here and put some stuff on it. So first thing, we're gonna go throw on the Echoline GS-X suppressor, recoil suppression, and the recoil smoothness. After that, we're gonna go for the FSS shark fin down here in the underbarrel. This is just gonna help us stabilize out some of that recoil. Now in the magazine section, we're gonna go for the 40 round mag, as this is pretty much like realistically the only option we have, in 40 rounds is, you know, at least enough for what it is, at least on this specific build. Now in the optic section, we're gonna go for the SZ Mini here, just to kind of like help us see a little bit. This is technically an AR, even though you're probably gonna want to run it as a little bit of an SMG. I definitely say that the SZ Mini is pretty solid on this gun, and the iron sights really realistically aren't bad. And then for our last attachment, we're gonna go for the LMK64 grip for sprint to fire speed and ADS speed. You're gonna lose a little bit of recoil control, but of course this is gonna, like, if you want to throw this one on here, you're gonna get some flinch resistance out of this, but you're gonna lose aim locking movement speed, and that can be pretty crucial considering you either have to bunny hop around corners or ADS around corners to not get caught in that sprint more, die more, you know, pattern. It's really not that fun. But this is pretty much my full build here for this thing. This is all I got for you guys here today. We've gone through a whole bunch of different builds, explained a whole bunch of different stuff. There's some caveats to it. Modern Warfare is a real fun game right now, but if you guys happen to enjoy today's video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Just remember, Captain, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.